Hello, my name is Mary Mack, and I'm the Executive Director of ACEDS, the Association of Certified E-Discovery Specialists. And we are thrilled to have with us one of our premier partners and affiliates that is going to put together a technological walkthrough through an exciting new product and process. We've got 3 participants who will be discussing this and demonstrating this for you. And between the 3 of them, I think there's over 30 years experience, in this vertical and in this industry. So our first presenter will be talking. Well, the name of the webinar is How to Securely Manage Your E-Discovery Process on Demand. And our first presenter is Corinne Cartwright, ACEDS, one of our certified e-discovery specialists. She is her title is an e-discovery specialist with Rico Legal, and over 10 years of e-discovery workflow and risk. She also is the assistant chapter director of Women in E-Discovery and holds certifications, not only ours, but in Catalyst, iConnect, and Relativity products as well. Our other participant is Virginia Edison. She is an e-discovery solutions architect with Rico, and she has 12 years of large projects and particularly global ones. She is on the District of Columbia Bar E-Discovery Committee, and she is also with Women in E-Discovery, certified with us, ACEDS, and also Catalyst, Xera, and she's got a background in software engineering, which really does help when you're rolling out a product, especially from the cloud, and you've got to coordinate with all sorts of different environments. Our third
Hi, everybody.
Participant Hi. Hey, thank you for letting me know that you're in there. So our third participant, and this is something that I really appreciate, is that Nilsa Moreno is going to address the product from an end user perspective. She is the national director. The National Associate Director of E-Discovery at Fisher Phillips, and she manages professional and consulting services and projects. Fisher Phillips LLP is a national boutique employment firm, and she has Nilsa's got over a decade of experience working with government law firms and managing their services and projects, including managing risk and change and information discovery, information governance, litigation readiness, compliance, and addressing the risk in all of those areas. So the agenda, and I will hand this over to you, Virginia, we will go through some things, and then we will see a live demo.
Actually, Corinne,
Mary,
I'm going to take over. Yeah, I'll take over. This is Corinne Cartwright. Yeah, absolutely. So just a couple of notes. At the end of the session, we'll have time for a formal Q&A, but feel free to ask any questions as they come to mind via the chat box located in the right side of your screen. You'll also be able to download the archive of today's product showcase and its slides directly from ACEDS tomorrow. For the agenda, first we're going to go through a brief overview of Rico and Rico E-Discovery on Demand, and then I'll hand over the reins to our talented solution architect, Virginia, and our esteemed colleague, Nilsa, who will give you the deep dive into the demonstration that looks at our Rico E-Discovery on Demand solution, and then we'll wrap up with that Q&A, answering any questions that come up during our presentation. So at Rico, we embrace the idea of using the right tool for the right reason, and I'm really proud to work at a place where when a tool doesn't exist for a particular reason, we can create it with our own development teams and our own security of a large company behind us. And as a manufacturer and an innovator holding over 49,000 patents, I feel really lucky that Rico has taken this innovative technology style and brought it to Ediscovery. Today we're going to look at Ediscovery on demand, and as we all know, Ediscovery comes in all shapes and sizes these days. Sometimes you may not need a full-blown Ediscovery review platform. Maybe you just need a few clicks to flip through some data. But many firms, many companies, whether they want to admit it or not, handle these matters in a less than ideal way. Such as throwing the data into Outlook or just converting ESI to PDF and reviewing file by file. And, the rationale maybe it's only a few hundred files, but as Ediscovery practitioners, we know that there has to be a better way. And that's why we developed Ricoh Ediscovery on Demand. Basically now you can have an on-demand, that means access anytime, online Ediscovery platform that provides you that defensible solution to investigate and to review data for these small to mid-sized matters. And at its core, Ricoh Ediscovery on Demand is designed to fill that gap between the do-it-yourself, non-defensible, putting in an Outlook types of review and those full-blown hosted document platforms like Relativity, Catalyst, Xera that we also offer. So it's designed with the end user in mind. Data can be uploaded, quickly processed, ready for filtering and analysis and a quick review. And if desired, you can call a data set and it can be easily promoted to one of those fully robust review platforms. And without further ado or too much more of my talking, I think it would be a perfect time to hand it over to Virginia to dive right into this.
Well, hello, everybody. Nilsa and I are actually going to walk through some of the Ricoh Ediscovery on Demand solution. So feel free. I think we're going to kind of take a few questions here and there, but anything that's kind of general we might save for the end just for timing to make sure that we have all the questions get answered either at the end and we get through the demo. So the Ricoh Ediscovery on Demand platform is actually web-based. I'm actually in Google Chrome at the moment, and you can access it anywhere at any time if you have an internet connection. It only requires that you have a username and password basically already set up, but it does not require any hardware or setup or anything like that on your computer. So it's no maintenance, no cost to you or the firm to actually get to the website. The data is hosted in the Microsoft Azure cloud, so the data is encrypted in transit and encrypted at rest, as well as we utilize Ricoh's highest levels of security for your client data. The data does not require any pre-culling. It will be demisted by default, and any deduplication options will be available in the system. So what's best is that all of this information is truly on demand. You'll have a dashboard of key information about your data. This includes a visual representation as well as status summaries, and you'll be able to actually dig deeper with data analysis and detailed reports. And all of this, and a user actually doesn't have to flip between multiple platforms. So Nilsa, I know that a lot of these on-demand features were very attractive to you, and you wanted to be able to actually develop a more robust kind of e-discovery program for your firm. Could you tell us a little bit about your thoughts on when it comes to the on-demand portion of this?
Sure, thank you. Happy to be here as well. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience with Ricoh On Demand. Initially, got introduced to the tool as a sort of on-demand processing tool, and when I saw it, I asked Corinne, I'm like, why am I not using this more regularly? And because I was really impressed with the ease of use of the tool, how quickly I could access the tool. I didn't need to call her to say, hey, set up a project for me. It was completely within my control and my team's control to set up projects. So once I started to see the power of it, we had a 1 terabyte project that we needed to process, and Ricoh On Demand, I mean, chewed up the data really, really, really quickly and spit it out into this review tool, which we could then do our early case assessment, and then we promoted some data to relativity. The case was really large, so we needed to do that for that particular matter, but now we're working to implement this firm-wide. So this is one of the reasons why I'm so happy to be talking to you guys about this today, is because I have been working with Ricoh for a while and expressed this need and saying, look, I really would like to use this tool in the firm, and can you work on some of these features to help my team manage this across our firm. And so they have done that, and Virginia is going to get into some of the details of some of the work that they've done to work with us, and they have at their disposal so many great resources to be able to get this done very quickly in terms of software development. It's a great tool. It's not just a processing tool. It's a really robust processing tool with ECA components, email threading, which, as we all know, sometimes we have to pay for that extra. And it's available 24 hours. And right now we're building this into our intranet so that the folks here at Fisher will be able to literally just click and get to this dashboard that Virginia is going to show you. And she's going to also show you this great 3-step process, and I'll try and chime in on that when she gets to it. But this is you're going to really love what you see today.
Awesome. Thanks, Nilsa. So I'm going to actually log in. I actually have already set up my password, but whenever you get your first link, you'll have a temporary password. Like everything else, it's going to require a strong password, uppercase, lowercase, number, and a special character, as well as we actually have 2-factor authentication, where you'll actually receive an email with a second code that you'll have to put in to actually log into the system completely. This is actually allows you to have an option to say bypass this for 30 days so that way you don't actually have to see it in the next 30 days. In this case, as you'll see when I hit login, I've already bypassed it, so it should go straight into my tiles. So up here at the top right, you'll see this is actually my admin screen. And this actually allows me to manage a bunch of different things. Perfect example is this production fields. It allows me to manage my templates. So for example, if I have a specific, DAT file template that I want to have for a specific case, or maybe a specific, client, whatever it is, you can actually manage your production field lists over here. I also want to mention that I am actually a client administrator, so I actually have full access to everything within the Ricoh client. So I can actually add users, which you can see right here, and I can give them different levels of access. So the different levels of access are a client admin like myself, so they'll be able to do everything that I'm able to do. We also have project admins who are admins only specific to a case, and they can actually grant access to that case for other users as well. We also have reviewers, and they'll have access to be able to cull and search their data. They'll be able to review it for the relevance, maybe even privileged review as well. They can tag some documents, and then they'll be able to do a little bit of basic redactions within the system. Then the last thing that we actually created was an uploader. So this is where it'll allow somebody to actually upload data just to that specific case. This is great for our law firm clients like Nilsa. They're able to collaborate with their client directly and allow them to upload data straight into the case, and then the attorney is able to jump right in and look at the data. So Nilsa, I know that's one of your favorite features. Would you like to elaborate a little bit on it?
Sure. A lot of the requests that we get, and actually I think something that's helping internally with IT, is that we end up getting data from clients in a way that that's not maybe a defensible way. And then we have multiple copies of data lying all around, the firm, which of course we know is not ideal. So this allows us to save on the time that we're spending, shipping data. So we can send a client a link, they can upload, the data directly to the platform, and also saves the firm in resources in terms of having to store this data. We have 33 offices in multiple locations and on our server, so I know my IT director is really happy about that. And it's just a quick way to be able to monitor as well what it is that you're getting in and keeping track of that. And Virginia will show you that a little bit further in. But that's probably my favorite feature. And then this dashboard that you're looking at, which is what I said, we're plugging into our intranet.
Awesome, awesome. So I'm going to actually walk through creating a case, and then we're going to kind of talk a little bit about how, the ease of use of that. And then I will go straight to that dashboard of cases that Nilsa was just talking about as well. So here I'm allowed to put in like a matter number. So if we want to be able to track things back to a specific, case within the firm, things like that, you can actually put them in. You can give it a friendly name as well. So that way, whenever you're looking at the case, you can actually see the friendly name and be able to choose the correct one without having to memorize all your matter numbers. And then down here, you'll actually see that we actually can select different service types. So the top 4 are what we kind of call an in and out service. You're going to take raw data, upload it into the system, and then it's going to convert it to basically one of these 4 formats. So we have the concordance relativity, so you'll get the DAT file and OP file for images. Summation, you'll get the DAT file and the DII for images. PDF, convert to searchable or image-only PDFs. A few other options in that. And then the print services, which will actually send it to the Rico local print office. The last 2, analyze and review services, is the one we're going to actually spend the most time in, and that's where we were talking about you can do the searching and culling as well as the review of the documents. And then the very last one is actually adding data to an existing case. So what it'll do is when you select that one, it'll give you a drop down of all the cases you have access to. So I'm going to click Analyze and Review, quickly select Accept and Continue. And as you can see, it's going to ask you to normalize the time zone, UTC, Universal Time Code. Everybody knows that's Greenwich Mean Time, so 0 time. If you know there's a specific time zone you'd like to see them in for like maybe date culling or date ranges and things like that, you can go ahead and select them. We have the 4 continental, so usually that covers all of the cases that we've worked on so far. So the exception handling, basically it will allow you, if you do have a corrupt file or something that for some reason isn't able to process, it'll allow you to actually replace that file in the system. The other 2 options are you can actually give it a password if it's a password protected item. So it's great because it'll actually unencrypt or open up that document so you can actually push it further through the processing. And then the third option is basically put it on the exception report and let's just move forward. And if you select the second option, that's what it'll do for any exception it actually comes across. As you can see, we can also put passwords in if you do know there are password protected items for sure. All right, quick summary of everything I just put into the system. What's great too is you will get a notification via email as well as, and I will talk about that in just a second, but you have an in-system notification as well so you know where everything is in your client cases. And then the last screen that I was going to show was this drag and drop feature. So up here, it's basically saying, 1 container per custodian, and it can be, a variety of different things, zips, PST files, 7Zs, RARs, TARs, a bunch of different things. But it was just as easy as I just dragged and dropped straight into this rectangle, and as you can see, it added the 2 files down here at the bottom. It also allows you to assign custodians right here so that you can keep everything tracked, especially if there's deduplication per custodian later. It will be able to track all of the information by that custodian. If it was an existing case and I had existing custodians, I'd also be able to select them here. So basically from here, all I would have to do is collect checkbox on accept terms and conditions and hit submit, and it would basically create my case. So Nilsa, now that I've shown creating a case, would you like to talk a little bit about that simplicity of that case creation?
Absolutely. This is really great because as all of us were in this e-discovery litigation support profession. A lot of us have a tremendous amount of experience dealing with very complex processing tools. So this really takes that out and broadens this to more users. So for me, where we do have 33 offices and it's difficult, right, to load data in for 33 offices, this allows people, in some of those other offices to be able to load data themselves, and they really like it. And this is, a paralegal obviously, or who we can give some training to and can understand sort of this few-step process and be able to check the quick exceptions that come up. So you don't have to, be a rocket scientist to use this tool. It's just, put the name of the custodian, the time zone, drag and drop, and then wait for your email notification. And the fact that it's web-based and there's no other waiting period and they have direct access to this tool makes those legal teams a lot happier as well, because they can create these projects as they get them. They don't have to wait for me or for, Rico to, say, create a case for them. So this is very, very convenient.
Great, great. So I'm actually going to go ahead and leave this screen and go back to the main tiles, and we're going to talk about the case Launchpad next. So you'll see here I actually have a list of cases. Down here, you've got your document count, your data size, a bunch of different things. You got your friendly name that I was just talking about, and then what type of service you had actually selected for it. So it's a little bit of high-level information about all of the cases in the system. And again, I am a client administrator, so I can actually see anything that my client or myself, my company, actually has in the system. So Nilsa, you want to tell everybody how you're actually using the screen?
Right. So right now here we can see, depending on the access, right, and that's something the user levels are things that we're working out right now to determine, which folks are going to have access to what features and to what matters. But this gives us, a little bit more control, right, as far as even regionally, or if there's any specific requirements within a matter where only certain individuals can look at it. But here we can see, as you can see on the screen, the data size, how many documents we have, and also what type of processing specs, we've chosen. So if we want to go directly into analyzing or into review, because those choices have been made previously, we'll be able to see that in that gray section. And so you kind of know what already has been done to the data. It gives you a snapshot of everything that you have. Obviously, if you're an administrator. If you're a user, you're going to, a reviewer, you're going to see less. I think this, though, has a lot of just information, and also for billing purposes, you can see, if you're where you're at capacity, if you're charging back to clients, what your real billing number is right here, and be able to, create an invoice based on these numbers.
Yes, and I was going to say, Nilsa, you touched on those user permissions. So perfect example, you can see I have 4 buttons associated with each case because I am a client administrator. If I was an uploader, I would only actually get to see this Add Data button, so you wouldn't actually see the other 3. And then if I was a reviewer, I'd only see these 2 buttons, the Analyze and Review buttons. And then if I was a project or client administrator, I get to see all 4 of these for the cases I had access to. So good point to point out too. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and actually select Analyze on this case right here. All right, and you'll see that I have a lot of different graphs. I'm going to scroll down just a smidge so you can actually see them. These are all different ways to visualize the data that I've actually loaded into this case. And if I want to do some filtering and searching, I can do that here. And all of those graphs will actually update as I do the culling and filtering. So I'm going to go ahead and add a widget. You can see I've got a bunch of different options here. The one at the very bottom is to add more. And I'm actually going to click on it. And I'm going to add the sender domain field. And I'm going to add a table. Click Add. And I'm going to scroll down and show you where it added it. So here's my table with the sender domains. Super easy to format this however you want to see it. You can actually remove widgets if you'd like, those types of things. And this whole layout can be saved and loaded later. Next thing I'm going to do is actually do a date range search. So I'm actually going to take the from and change it to 1/1/2000. This is because that's going to be the actually earliest date that I expect for any data to be relevant for the case. And then when I actually want to actually create the filter, I have 2 little options over here to the right. I can either do the green plus sign, which means include everything in between those 2 dates, or the minus sign, the red minus sign, which means exclude everything between those two dates. Well, since this is the date range that I want data for, I actually want to include everything between those two. And you'll notice down here my graphs all regraphed, and I actually am down to 280 documents. 2 were filtered out here in my little funnel. All right, so now I'd like to actually use some of these other graphs to actually do some filtering. I can actually click on things like this duplicate right here, and you can see now it's in blue wavy lines, as well as I'm going to go ahead and select this Motley Fool domain. I want to remove those duplicates, as well as I know this Motley Fool is usually spam, and I can actually apply these 2 filters at once by using the filters up here at the very, very top. So I have a plus and a minus up here, so I'm going to exclude these 2 from my search. All right, so there we go. We got a few more documents filtered out. Up here at the top, I can actually do some Boolean search terms as well as proximity searches. But for this example, I'm actually using Enron data, so I'm going to do the oil or gas or fraud. And then I just have to click the little spyglass over here to the side, and it'll execute the search. So basically, I can create a few tags on the fly. Like say, for example, I was running some privilege terms. I could actually very quickly bulk tag these documents if I needed to. I can click on this little thing. I can create new tags right here, new tag groups. For example, if I wanted to create a privilege tag group or an issue tag group, as well as I do have options for propagations to both duplicates, families, and then the email threads within the system. So Nilsa, would you like to talk a little bit about how you're using the Analyze feature of the system?
Sure. We've used it in a couple of ways, actually. One of the things I find appealing here is the timeline, right? You get this sort of visual representation here of when your data, this communication is occurring. And, you can use the other widgets, right, to filter down to even see, communication or what's been sent to one particular, custodian or file types that may have been sent within a particular range. We do that. As far as culling data out as well, we've used the domain feature, which we really like to get rid of the junk, or to focus on a particular, domain that we want to see the communication with folks within, let's say, their company, or if they're using personal email accounts, which this will let us know, right? If you start seeing Yahoos and Gmails, you're going to know that there's conversation taking place outside of, maybe a corporate domain. So we use this a lot to gather a lot of intel, if you will, and then be able to say, okay, well, we've got 1,000 records between these 2 folks or this particular domain, and then we can start batching it out to reviewers and do a more in-depth dive. So this is definitely a lot more useful than beginning with a linear review process.
Awesome. So I think at this point, we've gotten down to only 47 documents, so I think we're probably at a set that we want to actually look at in a review portion. So we're actually going to send this to review. We have the button up here to send a review. I wanted to also note that you can actually directly send this to production, which will allow you to do those load ready, both concordance or relativity, as well as summation or the PDF, all those types of things. So perfect example is maybe somebody wants to look at it in a PDF version. You can actually directly send this to that. I'm going to send it to review so I can show you some of those different functions. You can see up here I have a box. I'm going to actually expand this just a smidge so you can see it a little bit better. But it actually types out my search for me. So I actually have, the different metadata fields, the between, those 2 dates, those types of things. And then there's my my search terms right here that I searched for. The other great thing is this little drop down, this little box actually pops up when you select in the search rectangle. And it allows me to add more metadata fields and different types of searches to that search up at the top. And as well, you have your Boolean and or and not to add it to the search. I'm going to shrink this back up a smidge. I'm also going to check this checkbox that it actually will include not just the search hits, but the families of the search hits when you click that checkbox. And so whatever happens is it actually brings in, like, perfect example is I know that this Word document was a search hit, but that email message that it was attached to that just got brought in, it was not a search hit. So now it's there and I can actually view all of them. I'm going to actually select on this GMI. The other thing that I wanted to kind of show you as well is, so at this point I can actually save this search if I wanted to, just clicking on this save search right here to the side and then give it a name. To get to save searches as well as your search history, we have a button up here at the top. You can see I've got a bunch of different searches I've run recently, and my save searches actually would be saved there. If I wanted to run any of these searches, I would just click on the spyglass to the right of them. All right, click back out. So for the document list, you can see up here at the top, I've got a bunch of different metadata fields. It's actually super easy to add and remove fields by just clicking on this button right here. So you can actually drag things up and add them to the field list up at the very top. And this is actually very helpful when you're creating reports or maybe even like a very simplistic like Privlog for downloading. All you have to do is actually select all right here in the checkbox, and then you would just click this download to CSV, export to CSV. All right, so now I'm going to deselect all and go back to that one document. I'm going to show you the viewer really, really quickly. So as you can see, the first thing that pops up is our text view, and we've got our search term highlights in here. So you can actually see, so it's easier to draw that reviewer's eyes to what's been searched for within the document. I also have what's a near native. It's a native rendering of the document. And then lastly, if I click on this tip tab, it actually would execute what we call tip on the fly. And you can actually do some basic redactions within the system as well. So Nilsa, would you like to share your thoughts on the review portion of the tool?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I like the way that it's highlighting the term, and it's a simple, review layout. There's, it's not overly complicated. You can find the features that you need to do the basic, tagging, searching, redactions if you need it. And also the fact that you could bring in families or remove families very easily, and threading, which is major and cuts down on review time. And so for me, that's a really useful feature here. Just very streamlined.
Thank you. Thank you. So the last thing that I'm going to show you, and I'm not going to go all the way through creating a production. I'm just going to kind of talk high level about it. But we can send this to production or an export, so we can export it out into a load-ready format of some sort, or like we just said before, PDFs, or maybe even send it to a print service. So I'm going to click on the drop-down box for services, and as you can see, I'm only offered those 4 out services. If you wanted to have something in concordance relativity, it'll basically put all the metadata fields that you select. You can manage those field listings using that, remember up here at the triple that we had the manage production fields. So you'd be able to select basically your DAT file template that you want. You can do an opt file if you select images. Same thing for summation. You can do a DAT file with the template that you select, and then a DII for images. The PDFs, they can either be searchable or image only. You can also decide if you want to base number those or even keep the original file name and folder structure. That sometimes is beneficial to someone so they can see how the data was actually stored, and then they can't mess with the actual original natives of the file. The last one is actually the print services, and that would route to your local Ricoh office. Some other options that I kind of wanted to talk about was you will get the option for deduplication. You can not dedupe anything else, which means you'll get everything. You can do the custodian dedupe, which actually only dedupes within that particular custodian. And then you can do the global dedupe, so it'll remove duplicates across the entire case and only keep one. You'll also have the option to sort order the documents, so you can sort them by how they sat on the file system, as well as you can actually take the family date of the documents and sort them by that in either, oldest to newest or newest to oldest, and then assign the Bates numbers in that order. So that way, whenever you're looking at them and going through them in Bates number, they're in chronological number as well. We'll also be able to, as I said before, select different templates for, maybe perfect example is a lot of times we'll set up a DOJ or an SEC template because we always know what they want to see. So you can select those different templates. We will provide some within the system to begin with, and then as discussed earlier, you can create those. And then there's a bunch of other options that you'll be able to select. I just wanted to highlight those just so that way we can kind of talk about them. And then at this point, I actually am done with the demo, and I'm going to go ahead and switch back because I think Nilsa wanted to talk a little bit about the Ricoh Ediscovery on demand, and then how she's actually integrated that into her program there at Fisher & Phillips.
Sure. Now, it's now good?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so as we've been saying, it's this tool that it's just completely available, right? It's web-based. We can access it from anywhere at any time, and it's really given the firm, some independence, right? From vendor control really is ideal, and we can bill. We have the metrics available, and bill back this tool to clients. We can give the legal teams the freedom that they want. They can load data. They can review. They can produce. And it also, provides my team the ability to oversee what it is that those folks are doing because, of the administrative rights that are built in. And also some control so that we're not providing users more access than what they need. And of course, the whole emailing, the access feature, where we can just invite somebody just to upload and they don't have to see anything that gets processed at all is very, very, very convenient and one that our clients like. So it's almost like you have another FTP account, and now you can keep track of what it is that you have brought into the tool and see a global picture across your organization. So we're building it in as one of the tools that we use along with Catalyst and Relativity. I think it's a good ECA piece that we can push for larger matters or matters that require a little bit more complex review. We can stage them here, and then if we need something more robust, we can push it to another platform. It's secure. We have very demanding clients who are asking about data security, and that's one of the reasons why I've chosen this tool is because it sits in a very secure environment in which our clients are demanding. They're telling us what the requirements need to be, and this has met that. So, I have no complaints about this, and it's a great feature for our team, and we're rolling it out now. So, good news all the way around.
So, Nilsa, this is Mary. I'm wondering about the people that you're working with that are interviewing clients. Does this it looks like this would transform the desk side custodian interview. Are you finding that?
No, I wouldn't say that it would transform the interview. I think what it's going to do, it's going to make it easy for clients to send us data. So initially, we're going to have these conversations and ask them where it is, but what it does is it provides a defensible way, right? Because there's encryption here, there's security within where the data is being housed, and we can get a sense of the volume of what's being transferred. So you still have to have, obviously, conversations, right, because you want to control the amount of data, and have a sense of what is coming into the system. So I wouldn't say, hey, just send a link, right? You have to have the conversations, but we do have a tool that has the freedom to give that person, the ability to send an email and, hey, just send it to me via, this link, and it's super easy.
Fantastic, and I want to invite our listeners to join in with questions as well, and I know I've got a few here too. I was very intrigued by the ability to send, once you're done, to actually send this to be printed. Is that something you're able to use for like the short runs and the volume?
Well, I think there's a need for that, right? There's, we get data in, and we do have more traditional, attorneys sometimes that may not want to sit there and review data in a platform, and we can say, hey, just upload it and directly send it to PDF, or we can send it to a local Rico office if they really want paper, but now we still have this digitally, and we still have a repository of this information and can track what we've received and what we're doing with it. But or even push it to review afterwards if they decide that they do want to review it instead of looking at via PDF outside of the tool.
Yeah, definitely. And I was going to say, I just wanted to add on to that too, Mary, because I think this is where you were getting at too. We actually also have the ability to, say, for example, an attorney's traveling and they need a binder of some of the documents. We can also push that print to a binding, be bound at a local office wherever that attorney is as well too. I think we've had that happen as well. So I just wanted to kind of mention that as another feature.
Yeah, so this to me looks like a wonderful tool for the more traditional attorneys, as you were saying, Nilsa, to get their feet wet in e-discovery. That this is their vehicle to print, but as long as they're there, perhaps.
Right. It's easy for them, right? So if they're, especially to get stuff in where. Even for other professionals, for paralegals or document clerks that, are dealing with volumes of data all the time. Like, honestly, personally, that's one of my missions here is you don't have to do productions, manually. We have technology that you can drag and drop this data in, let the machine do the heavy lifting, go in there, redact what you want to redact, and, exclude what you need to exclude and produce and save time. And so it's really, because it's so easy to use, you reach a wider audience with this.
I was also very intrigued by the billing feature. I saw that little button that said, I think it said something like bill to third party.
Yeah, definitely. That actually allows you to, instead of, maybe the law firm is actually using the tool, they can actually directly get their client billed for the work that's done in the system. And it's super simple. They'll still get CC'd on any bill so they can actually monitor what's happening on the project. So yeah, definitely we can push it straight to the third party.
Fantastic. The other piece of this for me as I'm looking at it, employment cases are traditionally, like the single plaintiff employment cases, sometimes people wouldn't bother because it would be too small for all the the overhead of setting up a project. Nilsa, how are you finding the smaller cases like that? Do they lend themselves to this tool?
Yes, and they will be, and that's exactly right, because these smaller matters, dealing with tools where you've got to pay, for processing or licensing or hosting, everything separately, it becomes prohibitive, for these matters, and so I think it also discourages, the legal teams from wanting to proceed, and then there's also that wait period, right? I've got to wait, we've got to set up a project, we have to wait for the vendor to be involved, and so here, we can control when we get it in, and and also how quickly we want to get to the actual data, and if maybe we don't want it up for a month, maybe we only want to look at it and or rather we don't want it up for 6 months, we only want it up for a month, right? So we have that control to say, hey, Rico, delete this project, or we have a little bit more flexibility there with these smaller projects that don't require so many features, and it's just very easy. That's, I think, the biggest selling point for me is just the ease of access.
Yeah, I was very intrigued to see the a sequencing of the various levels that you can set up a project to be. Like I think you called them in and out services. I've heard some of my former corporate clients refer to it as grab and go, where you just need to take a PST and move it somewhere very quickly. And it looks like the design work on the front end of this you took into account both the law firm and like the departmental needs, but then also the corporate needs as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think what we were trying to do is just basically get the data defensively into a platform so that, we can preserve it, especially that's the biggest part. And then if we needed to convert it to something else, we sometimes joke around about the easy button, putting it into like a relativity or a catalyst like Nilsa was talking about. But yeah, that is another option that we can just bypass everything and just process straight to, one of the other platforms to do the review. So that is another option as well too.
Interesting. The other thing I was wondering about the dashboard area. It looked like you were able to design your own dashboard.
Not to a certain. You mean the case management, the case Launchpad, or you mean the dashboard inside the Analyze? Yeah.
With the widgets and things.
Yeah, definitely. You can add and remove a lot of those widgets. You can create the widgets in different ways as well. That's why we offered all of them, in different in the widget screen basically. So like perfect example was we had the file types actually in a bar chart. Well, you can actually create a pie chart in that if you would rather, or maybe even a table like I did with the sender domain, so that that way you can see it in a different visual way as well. Or if you wanted to be able to check the checkbox next to the file types you want to. So. Then the other thing too, being able to save searches and customize templates and stuff like that, it's basically something that you can make your own tool as well, both between those dashboards, that Analyze screen with a different widgets, and then everything else basically. You can make it your own product.
Nilsa, you had mentioned that you were going to put this within your, did I hear you right, within your intranet?
Yeah, that's what we're working on now, is just providing a link right to that launch page within our intranet. We want folks to have direct access to all of their tools, right? And so since we can provide users, with access, right, they'll be able to click on that link and get to that launch that page with the 4 boxes on it, that Launchpad, and then determine what services they want from there. So it'll be, they won't necessarily have to go through, they can still save this as a page, right, from the browser and get to it that way, but it sort of brings it in, to show like this is one of the tools that we use.
So, Nilsa, do you need team captains in each office, or is this something that you can centrally manage, or?
We're centrally managing, the firm, so we're able to see because we have the administrative rights, and we have control over what goes into the tool. So that's one of the benefits of it, and we are not going to give access to those who can't use the tool yet, maybe who are not trained, or they don't, for security reasons, they can't have access, or so this is being controlled by myself and my team.
Yeah, and I was going to say, Nilsa, you also brought up a great point too about the feedback. We actually, seek our feedback from our clients to be able to actually make sure that what we're doing within the system is always, going to be what is going to be used. We want to try to make sure that we're being innovative when we actually develop these utilities and stuff too. So just wanted to dovetail on the end of that.
That's right. Yeah. Well, the need we had, and to be able to further use the tool. And Rico's been very, good about helping us figure out what those permission levels, need to be for appropriate, access.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah, and I think the other thing too.
Go ahead, Virginia.
No, I was just going to say too. I know Nilsa was talking about earlier the the uploaders. We can actually also do a link for uploaders that only lasts for a certain number of days, so that way they would only have access to our system for a certain number of days to upload data. So it's like another level of security too, and I think that actually was fantastic for where you're just collaborating with somebody for maybe a day and then moving forward. So just wanted to kind of bring that out as well.
So you've mentioned security several times. Can you describe a little bit about the tire kicking your clients have been doing in the security area?
Is that
I think that was directed, yeah. I think it's directed to you, but I can definitely help answer if needed.
Clients are asking for, authentication, right? So you have here the two-factor authentication. They want to know where, data is being, the security of data centers. They want to know, if the tool has, granular permission levels so that we can, isolate access. And so that's, just on the low level things that they're asking for. And so this is one of the things that we're able to do now here is, drill down and say, we only want somebody to load, or we want somebody to only review but not load or, delete. So those are really great, features for us, and then we know because of where the data sits that, that they have industry, they're meeting industry standards as far as, security in this environment where their data center is.
Virginia, did you have something to add?
No, I was just going to, if we needed to elaborate on some of the security features from the Microsoft Azure cloud, I was just going to help out with that if anybody needed, a little bit about that information. So that was a decision that we took a lot of time to actually make before we actually decided on the Azure cloud and to shift a lot of our eDiscovery offerings to the Azure cloud. So the biggest thing, and I mentioned it earlier, was the encryption at rest as well as the encryption in transit. So as things are moving between systems, it actually gets encrypted. The other great thing is that there's a whole slew of Microsoft engineers that are monitoring our system at all times. So, intrusion detection, things like that. So that helps out. As well as, we have the other option of being able to actually move globally with Microsoft Azure. Every once in a while somebody comes to us, hey, do you have a data center in such and such? Well, now technically we can start up an instance, in another country if we have to, of whatever, case, whatever, software they need to use. So that was kind of part of the reason we moved to the Azure cloud, and that's part of the reason why we put the Rico on demand there as well.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So how do people get in touch with you?
Well, we have a couple of different ways. So on the screen right now, we actually have two just kind of email distribution lists. One's the eDiscovery sales team, as well as the Rico on demand distribution. Both Corinne and I, it's basically, well, actually Corinne has a middle initial, but it's Corinne.A.Cartwright, so her first middle initial and last name at Rico-USA.com, just like these two distribution lists that you see here. And then I'm Virginia.Addison at Rico-USA.com, so my first dot last name. And then Nilsa, do you want them to?
Sure. Anyone is welcome to reach out to me and for more of my perspective, although I've given a lot of it today. But it's nmoreno@fisherphillips.com.
Well, if I know our ACEDS community, all three of you will be getting some calls to because this is a nice, innovative, distributed way to manage your e-discovery. I want to compliment all of you for the collaborative design and the client focus on all of us are serving clients, and from what I'm hearing in the corporate operations department and the smaller firms is that there's a huge demand for this type of approach to e-discovery. So if there are no more questions, what I'll take is last final comments from folks. Why don't we start from Corinne?
Thanks, Mary. I just wanted to add in that if you have a local Rico relationship currently, those are definitely great places to reach out to find out more information, as well as the team that was on the call today. And I want to thank everybody so much for joining and for the wonderful information that we got today from Nilsa and Virginia.
And Virginia?
Thank you so much for having us today. It was very exciting to actually be able to showcase this product because it's been very exciting. I've been involved in it since I think almost the very beginning, and so being able to see how it's evolved and the adaptation, especially working with Nilsa, I love working with her as well too. So it makes it fun to kind of see how it's being used and those types of things. So always looking for new suggestions and exciting ways to help everybody out. So thank you so much.
And thank you, Virginia, on behalf of our community. And Nilsa, some final thoughts from you?
Sure. I just want to, thank Rico and Corinne, especially, and Virginia. They've been wonderful in listening to, what I need and delivering on that. And so this has really been a great accomplishment, I think, on their part, and something that I look forward to continuing to use and to rolling it out and providing a tool for the firm that's easy to use. I think that's that's the key today, is just easy and cost effective. So thank you also for inviting me today, and I really enjoyed participating. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank our participants and the folks that are on the line, and we'll have a link to this webinar so that you can watch it again if you'd like, or share it with your colleagues. I want to thank Rico, who's one of our premier affiliate partners. We very much value this opportunity, and as an attorney that needs to stay technologically competent and aware of what's out there in the marketplace, I thank our folks that are willing to come and demonstrate their product and their processes, and particularly this broadcast here with somebody who's actually using the product. It's just absolutely delightful, and I thank you all. And with that, thank you for your kind attention, and we'll see you on our next webinar.